DreAllDay.com.
Everybody, Dre Baldwin, DreAllDay.com. Topic of this video is doing what you are afraid of doing. And we all got things that we want to do. We all got big dreams, goals, hopes. If you watch these kind of videos, then you got dreams, goals, and hopes. And today I want to give you some reasons, first of all, why you need to move yourself out of your comfort zone to doing the things that you actually may be a little bit afraid of doing, whether you want to admit it or not. And then a couple reasons, a couple ways that you can apply the how, a couple of hows to apply to it that are all related to the mental game. So first of all, the things that we are afraid of doing usually are something, usually at the end of doing those things, once we cross that bridge of doing the things that we're afraid of doing, we actually get to the things that we want, which probably require, the things that we want probably require us to step outside of our normal locus of control. Because if we could do it already, if it was already within our locus of control, within our comfort zone, we would already have done it. So we wouldn't even be talking about it. It wouldn't even be a goal because it would already have been achieved. So how do you actually move yourself to do the things that you want to do, or why would you move yourself to do the things that you have been kind of afraid to do, not wanting to do, but not willing to do for whatever reason? Number one reason why you want to do it is, first of all, you're not going to have much competition. Most people don't do things that they're afraid of doing. Many people won't even admit that they're afraid of doing certain things. Even if you sit and talk to them, they tell you their problems and their challenges and their goals, and you start breaking it down and getting strategic about it. You get to the point like, all right, all you need to do is this thing, this thing, this thing. Not that it's so simple, but it just sometimes it requires people to step outside of what they're used to doing, and that's when you get the resistance. That's when people make excuses, when people procrastinate, people delay, people come up with a whole bunch of different reasons why not to actually make that move because they're afraid of doing it. Whether it's a business person who's afraid of hiring people because they don't trust anybody, or they're afraid that they won't make enough money to pay their staff, so they don't want to hire anybody, or they're afraid of giving up control, so they don't want to delegate work to anybody else, or the athlete who wants to play at a higher level but they don't want to go try out for that higher level team, or they don't want to make themselves into a better player. They don't want to work on their game past their comfort zone. They don't want to be pushed any harder than they've been pushing themselves, or harder than they've ever been pushed by anybody else, because that would take them to the next level, but they're not willing to do that work. And that is you could say is unwillingness to work. You can call it laziness, but it's all rooted in fear. Is afraid of pushing yourself, afraid of how you're going to feel, afraid of how much of a challenge it'll be, afraid of the fact that maybe you'll find yourself not up to doing this work. You're not up to that actual challenge. So the number one reason why you want to push yourself to do things you're afraid of doing is because other people are afraid of doing things, and most of them will never push themselves past their comfort zones. They're going to stay right there, and they basically have reached the ceiling of how good they could possibly get because they don't want to push themselves to go any further. Number two, once you do start doing things that you're afraid of doing, you're going to have an audience. You're going to have an audience of all the people out there who will not do what you're doing, because everybody has things they want to do, but they're afraid of actually doing them, so they haven't done them yet. Everybody has those things. Once you start actually living it out and doing those things, you're going to have an audience of people who are like, damn, I wish I had the heart to actually do what I want to do. I wish I had the heart to step out there and be who I want to be. I wish I had the heart to, put myself out there on Front Street the way that you're doing it, or push myself, or put myself on the line to where I could possibly lose, to where I could possibly fail. Most people are not willing to do that, even though they know exactly what they want to achieve. They know exactly what they want to accomplish. They're just not willing to push themselves. So you're going to have an audience of people who are watching you and cheering you on to actually achieve that thing that you've been afraid of doing. So even though you think when you first start doing it that you're going to have a bunch of people hating on you, or people who want to see you fail, or people who not going to be happy because you're moving past them, actually most of those people will happily sit on the sideline and watch you because they're unwilling to push themselves the way you're pushing yourself. The third reason why you want to push yourself to do things that you're afraid of doing is because you're an ambitious person, right? You got big goals, right? You got hopes and dreams and things that you want to achieve, and you want to go further and do better and achieve more than most of the people around you, the people you grew up with, the people you know from the neighborhood, the people you went to school with, the people you work with right now, maybe the people you see every day on a daily basis today. You want to go way further than those people, right? Well, understand that for you to do that, you may need to change some things about your current process. Maybe on your current path, if you just keep doing exactly what you're doing, you will eventually pass all those people, but maybe you need to make some other changes. Maybe there's some things you could do that would accelerate your growth. So maybe you could grow kind of at this pace, but what if we can make that growth go at this pace? So you can get further and you can get there faster. So then maybe you open yourself up to some new goals, some new ambitions that you didn't even see as possible before you started pushing yourself, before you started pushing yourself out of that comfort zone into that, I don't know, the fear zone, whatever you want to call it, when you're doing things that you're not quite comfortable with, not quite courageous in doing, but you do them anyway. you're ambitious, that's what you got to do. This is just part of the process. If you're ambitious, this is part of the equation. Part of the equation of ambition is you got to be willing to push yourself past that comfort zone, past things that you're comfortable with, into things that you may be a little bit afraid or a little bit leery of doing. Now, how do you actually do this? First of all, number one key for you doing the things that you're afraid of doing. I don't know if any of you ever been to a Tony Robbins conference. I haven't, but I will go. I will be going soon, in my soon future. But one thing that I see Tony Robbins doing in his conferences that everybody knows about is they walk on burning coals or burning rocks, whatever they're walking on. And one of the things that Tony gets people to do is, I remember when Oprah Winfrey went to the conference and she had it, I've seen his videos on YouTube, where Tony gets her psyched up, gets everybody in the right mental state to where they're not worried about anything, they're not thinking about failing, there's nothing that's going to bother them. They get themselves into this mental zone, same thing athletes want to do, and then they walk over the coals. Some of them are yelling like, nothing's going to stop me, and they walk over those coals, and the whole thing is enthusiasm. The point that I'm making here is the enthusiasm. When you get that mental momentum going to where nothing is going to block you, you're not worried about what if I fail, what if I mess up with this, what if people laugh at me, what if it doesn't turn out the way I thought it was going to turn out. When you get yourself in the mental zone to where none of that shit even matters, you can do pretty much anything you want to do. And we all know this because we've all felt this zone before. Now, maybe it comes and goes for us. Maybe we can't quite understand how to get into it and stay there. And my book, Work on Your Game, will help you with that. And also my book, The Mental Handbook, will help you with that. But we've all felt it at one time or another. Whether you felt it once ever in your life or you could do it every day, we all know exactly what that feels like. When you create that momentum, that will help you push past that fear and stop worrying about the fear, but actually focus on what you want to get instead of the fear, because they both exist. It's just which one are you focused on. And number two, once you get that momentum going, number 2 point is the momentum. The momentum means, we all know how momentum works, right? Once you start going in a certain direction, whether it's positive or negative, you tend to keep going in that direction. That's the law of inertia at work. And the law of inertia states that an object will remain in its current state, whether it's a state of doing nothing, a stationary state of doing nothing, or a state of momentum, kinetic energy, where you're moving and actually taking action. Whichever state you are in, you tend to stay in that state until you put some energy and force behind changing that state. So, for example, if a person sits on the couch and does nothing all day, watching Netflix and eating potato chips and ice cream, they tend to keep doing that because there's nothing that's moving them to actually start taking action. Now, on the other hand, a person who goes to the gym every day, works out every day, walks 2 miles every day, is always active, always moving around, always getting things done, they always seem to be on the go doing stuff, they tend to do that all the time. There's a habit of theirs. All right, and the law of inertia and momentum and habits are all the exact same thing. They're all under the same umbrella. The things that you're used to doing, that you're always doing, you're going to keep doing them unless some outside force acts on you and moves you to change state. It takes much more energy to change what you normally do than it takes to continue doing what you normally do. So if you're used to sitting around doing nothing, it's much easier to keep sitting around doing nothing than it is to start being active. And if you're a person who's always active, it's much easier to keep being active than it is to stop being active and sit around and do nothing. Any of you who's watching this, who's an active individual, you're always doing stuff, always moving, always on the go, it's hard for you to sit down and do nothing. It's hard for you to take a day off and do absolutely nothing. You get antsy because you're used to moving around and being active. That's the law of inertia. Those are your habits. That's the law of momentum, all under one umbrella. So those are the things that you need to do to start moving into doing the things that you may be a little bit afraid of, so you can reach the goals that you want to reach. You're not doing it just to do it, just to brag about it or to YouTube it, but so you can reach the goals that you actually want to reach, or maybe reach those goals faster than you would reach if you kept going on your current pace. So let me recap, if I can remember the points that I even made here. How do you go past that, get past that fear barrier of doing the things that you actually want to do? Number one, you won't have much competition because most people are not willing to go past the fear barrier into things that they're afraid of doing, whether they want to admit it or not. Number two, you're going to have a large audience of people that will watch you go after the things that you may be a little bit afraid of doing, because most people are not willing to do it themselves. So they're going to get out the way and they're going to watch you. And you're going to have a cheering section of people who are happy to watch you do it. They're not going to hate on you. They're going to be happy to see you do it because they know they wouldn't want to do it. And number three, you got ambitions, you got big dreams, you got big goals. The quickest way to get there is to go through the things that you're afraid of, get past that discomfort, get out of your comfort zone and expand your comfort zone. Because every time you step outside of your comfort zone and get comfortable outside of it, your comfort zone expands to make now you're comfortable there. Now you step a little bit further up, your comfort zone expands. So that's the way that it works. And how do you do it? Number one, enthusiasm. Once you get that mental momentum, that enthusiasm, get into that zone mentally, like when Tony Robbins has people walking over those burning coals, you're not worried about what might go wrong. All you're focused on is the goal on the other side of those burning coals. And number two, once you get that momentum going, once you have that habit, the law of inertia becomes to work for you. I mean, it's already working for you. Whatever you are used to doing, an object that is in a state of doing nothing will stay in a state of doing nothing, and an object that is in a state of movement will stay in a state of movement until or unless some outside energy works on that object to change its state. Whatever, in other words, whatever you're used to doing, you're going to keep doing. All right, if you're an active person all the time, you're going to stay active. If you're a lazy person doing nothing, you're going to stay lazy doing nothing. And it takes more energy to change states than it does to continue a state. So you want to get past the things that you're afraid of, move past them quickly to get to those goals that you have faster than the pace that you're on right now. Just follow the advice I gave you in this video. My name is Dre Baldwin. The website's dreallday.com. Work on your game. My book, Work on Your Game, Using the Pro Athlete Mindset to Dominate in Business, Sports, and Life, is available now where all books are sold, physical, digital, and of course the audio book, 100% done by me. You have learned from these philosophies, the mental game, business, sports, life, anything you do, this is the book for you. Go get it now and work on your game. Dre all day.